The topic that I chose to write about was relating to mental health, specifically how video games can. The topic that I chose to write about was relating to mental health, specifically how video games can. Uh, the topic that I chose to do my research paper on was mental health. The reason why I chose to do mental health is given the recent events. The topic that I chose to do my research paper on was mental health. The reason why I chose to do mental health is given the recent events of the novel coronavirus. I felt that it was important to acknowledge the fact that mental health is critical to maintain and that there are unorthodox ways to maintain it aside from physical exercise. I know a lot of people consider working out and running to be great relievers in terms of stress as well as negative emotions like anxiety and depression. However, the novel coronavirus also brought to light that mental health is critical to maintain because of the fact of isolation, being separated from people, and limiting face to face interaction. Oftentimes, people felt the side effects of that, which were negative feelings such as terror, paranoia, as well as separation from society, and lower self-esteem. As a human species, it's kind of in our genetic makeup to interact with others. And I felt that given an unorthodox way of maintaining mental health, given its video games, I felt that there was a way video games can improve mental health, given the many aspects of video games. The purpose of my project was, in a way, to bring some awareness to mental health and the importance of maintaining mental health. The reason why is because negative emotions such as paranoia, fear, and anger, those can all lead to negative actions. And the mind and brain, being as powerful as it is, it has the ability to influence action. And I felt that by reducing the amount of negativity in one's mind, as well as the coping mechanisms involved in coping with negative emotions, I felt that video games could be a fun way to do that, given the many aspects and genres, such as racing games, fighting, first person shooting. There's a wide spectrum of video games that can be used to substitute negative emotions or even treat them. So my audience originally is undergrad students, so I felt the need to utilize grammar in a way that college students would be able to comprehend. Um, as a result, this impacted my writing to be more thought out. Um, I had to use a stronger usage of grammar in order to in order to keep myself from repeating extensively. On top of that, I also didn't want to use extremely advanced terminology to where I would confuse readers. So throughout the entire essay, I tried to keep the same level of words that have been heard, that are talked about, that are often used, because I know that these words will help in terms of understanding to my audience. And I think that another medium I could have got this information across in is in a video, given that it would be a more broad audience from undergrad students compared to those researching the effects of video games, because uh, oftentimes people prefer to watch a video over reading a research paper. So I think a video would be able to effectively get a message across while noting how mental health is important to maintain. And a good way to do that is through video games. The Verbal Pitch Media Lab, it helped me because I was able to get feedback, and the feedback is what really narrowed it down to video games. However, originally I wanted to focus on mental health. Um, Coming from experience, I felt paranoia and fear in terms of the well-being of my family, and especially during this time of COVID-19 pandemic, um, those feelings are 10 times
more than normal for everybody. And that's the main reason why I wanted to focus on mental health. Um, and the reason why is because it's important. It allows people, it focuses, it, al- it allows people to feel emotions and then act on those emotions. Um, this media lab, it helped because given feedback from my professor to narrow it down to one method of coping with mental health. I chose video games when originally it was going to be a more broad spectrum, touching on video games, yoga, as well as physical exercise, such as running or walking. And I'm glad that I was able to do the video game support. Some challenges I faced when writing this paper, um, it was the fact that there's not much arguments in support of video games, given the negative connotation that it's really difficult to overcome. Video games can be seen as a lack of productivity. They can lead to a separation of society as well as a lowering of self-esteem. So, given those main things, on top of being unproductive, um, video games have attached a negative connotation, and oftentimes parents do not like their kids to be playing video games. And given limits as well as discipline in terms of time playing video games, it can actually serve a much higher purpose in the opposite of those negative connotations. And it was difficult finding arguments in support of that because still to this day video games do have that negative connotation. So arguments in support of that are scarce. However, the ones I did find I feel are valid as well as credible compared to a vast majority which are simply just discussion boards from other people's opinion, not necessarily actual research. Um, Personally, I would like to point out that uh, with extensive paranoia and fear, as well as an increase in negative emotions, um, it can really cause a detrimental factor, which is why I chose to do video games, given that